Hello! So today I want to talk about motorcycle apps and which ones I find the most useful. So the first thing I'm going to point out is I try to avoid using apps as much as possible. When I go out on the bike for a ride, I like to enjoy the ride. I don't like to be messing around with my phone or tablet. But there are some apps out there that are actually quite useful. Now the first app I've got on this list is the BBC Weather. It's a no-brainer. Everyone likes to know what's going on with the weather, especially when it comes to motorbiking. But the next one is ESR. Now ESR stands for Eat, Sleep, Ride, and it's got a variety of great functions on it. But the main one I want to point out is Crash Light, and that basically uses your phone sensors to detect when you've had a crash. So for example, if you went from 60 miles an hour to a stop, it would automatically send messages to everyone that you've set up in your contacts to say you've been involved in a crash. And I think that's a great thing to have. But it does sometimes kick in without you actually crashing, in which case you'll need to look at your phone and disable it by swiping. Now the next app I've got is Cygic, and that's a free GPS software app. And of course I ride with a normal sat-nav, so I don't really need it. But if that was to break, then I've got a backup on my phone I can use to find my way out of a bad situation. KalliMoto. Now personally I don't use KalliMoto, but it's got a variety of useful features. It's got a fuel station finder, and it's basically an app to make a route. So if you're not sure and you're looking for the best winding roads, you can click on this. It will give you an automatic route planned on how far you want to go and how much time you want to spend, and it'll give you a good day's riding. But you are stuck by the route it chooses. So I prefer the freedom approach of just seeing where I end up. The next apps I want to point out are three very useful ones if you're completely out of your normal area. The first one's a fuel finder, the second one's a public toilet finder, and the third one is to find your bike. So it sets a GPS track point, and then if you walk away, let's say for example a bike meet, you can just save the point where your bike is and you'll be able to find your way back. Really great for if you've had a long day and you've completely forgotten where you parked. And the last four apps are more for where you're going to stay at night. So in this case, I've got the Booking.com app. Obviously you've got other ones like Trivago and Hotels.com, but for me, Booking is my personal favourite. You've got WikiCamps. I believe it's a crowd. The crowd kind of runs it, so anyone can add more campsites to it, and it's constantly being updated by the public, so it's always up to date with the latest campsites. Well, I've used it many times. There's also pitchup.com, which is another great website. So it's really down to personal preference of which app you prefer, but hopefully this will give you a general idea. Then I've got National Trust and World Around Me. Now these two apps are basically for points of interest. I enjoy National Heritage and National Trust sites. I think they're absolutely wonderful to walk around. Sometimes a bit expensive, but usually they're pretty impressive, and it gives you a good look into our history. And World Around Me will literally give you many options of what we've got in the area for places of interest. So maybe a castle, or maybe there's a museum nearby. Absolutely great features. The next app doesn't appear on my phone because it all depends on what tracker you're using. But I've got a couple of trackers here. These are from a company called TrackR, which is a very basic form of tracking, but I like the perimeter feature on it, which I mentioned briefly in my last video. But if you've got a tracker for your bike, then it's always good to have the app handy, especially if it's going to set an alarm off if your bike moves or gets stolen. So that's one app I haven't included but should be on here. So those are the apps I just wanted to mention. By all means, feel free to update me with any better ones you may have found out there. But these are just the ones I use on a general daily basis, and that's if I need them at all. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.